So hey guys, today making a second video because I just feel like it. Yeah, I changed my channel a little. So yeah, let's continue to this video, this current video. So this is a fairy deck that I've built a little while ago, like a week ago, and since I made my serpent dragon video, I think it was deleted. I don't know, but I'll re-upload it with new cards. So yeah, this is my fairy deck. First of all, Splendid Phoenix. I use it for helping my spell and trap zone and counter traps, and also all non-fairies lose 500. Archlord Christia. I mainly just use it for attack. Also Athena. Burn damage, and essentially it's just good for graveyard effect. This Deathiest Goddess of Light. I guess it's for like drawing for fairies. Mostly this deck is made up of fairy type monsters, so this is essentially very good for my fairy deck. Also, I kind of combined it with the Parshath deck that Konami released. So some of the cards are actually from in here, so it's kind of a mix. Hecatrice, I use it with Valhalla Hall of the Fallen so I can summon more fairies. So essentially, if Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, no monsters on the field, I could essentially summon higher, more powerful monsters from my hand if I couldn't summon it. If Harvest Angel of Wisdom, I mainly use it for counter traps in my grave. So like if it's destroyed, it sends a counter trap from my graveyard to the hand. I essentially use it with reusing cards that I don't really have right now in a duel. I can essentially just add it to my hand and set it face down. So essentially counter traps are kind of good for this deck, since it's mainly from the Parshath fairy deck I got. It's mainly based off of counter traps. So yeah, Harvest Angel of Wisdom is essentially good for counter traps. Nova Summoner. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one light fairy monster with 1500 or less attack from the deck. So essentially, this is very good with low attack fairy monsters. So I mainly use those in the deck, technically, because I can summon lower powered monsters with really good effects into the deck. So Nova Summoner is essentially good for that. Layard the Liberator. It's essentially for banishing with the spells and traps I have. And it's when a counter trap is activated, it can add 2 banished fairy type monsters. So essentially cards from the sky, if I use this, it's essentially good for that card because I can add those cards to the hand. And if I have higher levels, I can use that for a tribute summon. Those higher monsters banish in the banished zone to my hand, tribute summon. Essentially, so that's card's really good. Meltio, the Sage of the Sky. I mainly used for gain 1000 for counter traps. And if Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field, I could essentially destroy one card as well. Galenduo, I mainly use this for tributes for my higher levels fairies, and it cannot be destroyed by battle. So if I set it face down, it's flipped face up, it's not destroyed. But if I still take damage, if I take any damage, this card is destroyed. So it's any damage, so if I take effect damage, it's still destroyed. Minerva, Scholar of the Sky, every time it gains every time a counter trap is activated, it gains 500 attack. I mainly use it for that. I'm sorry if this video goes on for 5 minutes. I'm sorry. Deck lists take that long if it's 40 cards. And if Sanctuary of the Sky is on the field, I can add 1 counter trap. Essentially, these cards are based off of Sanctuary of the Sky, so it's kind of like its own archetype based around Sanctuary of the Sky, which actually is kind of good because you take no damage from fairies. Bountiful Artemis. Each time a counter trap is activated, immediately after it resolves, draw 1 card. So it's a draw 1 kind of good card, and if I have really good traps, essentially I can just mill out my deck with good cards. Marshmallow. I added this card because if I set it face down, 1000 burn damage, and it cannot be destroyed by battle. So essentially it's kind of like my totem card if I need to use it. So yeah, it's good. Herald of Green Light. These cards are based off of monster spells and traps, and if it can send 1 other fairy and then I can destroy it. So essentially these 3 cards are for monster spells and traps. Hanawada. It is a fairy tuner. I might actually add synchro monsters to this deck, possibly, but I added this tuner because I take no effect damage. So essentially, if I take damage from a spell or trap or monster effect, essentially I take no damage. So it's kind of good in that situation. DD Sprite. Why do I keep saying So yeah, it technically is. You can special summon this card from your hand by banishing 1 face-up monster you control. So essentially, if all my I have a lot of fairy monsters, use this. You know what I could do? I can use it with other cards. So yeah, it's good for that type of reason. Separate reasons for all the different cards. You cute, my dude. Guiding Light. When this card is normal summon, you can target 1 level 1 light fairy monster in your graveyard. Special summon that target. So if I have a high level with a tuner, I can essentially use it for that reason. On to the spell and trap cards. Okay, this is gonna take too long. Spells. I essentially use it for special summons if I take 2000 LP. So it's kind of like special summons by activation, and you also take damage. So essentially ties to the brethren is that. Cards from the sky, like I said with my monsters, I can banish 1, draw 2. And I cannot conduct my battle phase, but that does not matter. Valhalla. Special summon if I have no monsters. Constellar Belt, light all lights, so effects cannot be negated. Fountain of the Sky, gain LP from light monsters. Celestial Transformation, special summon 1, have its attack, and yeah, only its attack. Sanctuary of the Sky, no battle damage from fairies. Ghost from the Past, banishing, banish 2. Target 1 card on the field, attack 0. Banish 1 card, then I can target 1 of my banished monsters, special summon it in face down defense position. So essentially, if I have a high level in my hand, I can flip it face up and then use that to special summon it face down. And since it has really high defense, essentially if a low attack monster is trying to attack me, you get it. Dimensional Barrier, I use this for blocking certain types of monsters and pendulums and links. I use that if my opponent is trying to special summon multiple monsters at once. Essentially, it's kind of like a special summon block, I call it. Mind Crush, declare one card name, and if this multiple cards of that card's name is in the opponent's hand, discard all copies of it. If not, discard one random card. So essentially, Mind Crush is actually very good in discard decks, but I mainly use it for actually helping me. Light of Judgment, it's essentially discard one light monster to the graveyard, and then look at your opponent's hand and discard one card from their hand. So essentially, discard one card from your opponent's hand, and then send one card from your opponent's field to the graveyard. I think I screwed that up, but Wall of Disruption, loses all monsters on the field, lose 800 attack for how much your opponent has. Yeah, it just loses 800 attack for all monsters they control, equal to how much monsters they control. Dark Bribe negates spell or trap activation and draw one card. Divine Punishment, I guess it's negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Essentially, if a spell or trap card is activated, monster effect is activated, destroy it. Essentially with this one too. Solemn Warning, my last card. So essentially this card is basically for monsters would be summoned, or a spell or trap is activated, and monster effect. That includes an effect that special summons a monster. Pay 2,000 LP, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy it. So that's my monster deck. It took me 12 minutes just to make this video. Not pre-recorded. I'm sorry. I don't have time. But hello, bye-bye. Essentially, this is a fairy deck profile. This is not 2018, 2019. This is essentially just a deck I just wanted to send out to all you peeps if you like Yu-Gi-Oh! And try to get an example of how good a fairy deck is. In my perspective, not yours or anyone else's. Just mine and how good this deck is. Bye-bye, peeps. Diver 130, out.